Welcome back to 10-Minute Texts, a weekly show for Torah students on the go. Hello and welcome back to 10-Minute Texts. I'm Isaac Shalev, and this week we are going to look at Parshat Zachor. Parshat Zachor is read alongside Parshat Tzav this week, and it is read on the Shabbat before Purim, and it reminds us of the Israelites' encounter with Amalek. Amalek is, of course, the evil villain of Jewish history. So I want to take a look at the text and remind us what this is all about. And today we're going to look at a non-biblical source. We're going to look at a modern singer-songwriter, and we're going to try and learn something about those two texts by reading them alongside one another. So this is yet another technique for how to take a look at and learn from Torah text. So the story of Amalek is that Amalek is the first enemy that the Israelites meet after the exodus from Egypt. And here in Dvarim, God reminds the Israelites, Zachor et asher asa lecha Amalek baderech b'tzeitchem miMitzrayim. Remember what Amalek did to you. What did he do? Asher karcha baderech. He met you along the way. Vayezanev becha kol hanecheshelim acharecha. And he struck at your rear guard. He struck at the old and the sick and those who were strung out in your line behind you. Ve'ata ayef ve'yagea. You were tired and weary. V'lo yareh Elohim, and he was not afraid of God. Amalek was not afraid of God, who perhaps Amalek should have feared because God had just displayed all his miracles in Egypt, had just redeemed the Israelites, parted the sea, 10 plagues, and so on. Now, the actual story of the, as it's related in Shmot, is that Yoshua goes out to battle with Amalek and fights a war of attrition, really slowly weakens Amalek by the sword, while Moshe has his arms held up by Aaron and Hur, and for as long as Moshe's arms are up, the Israelites are victorious, but as they sag, the Amalekites are victorious, and over time, with the help of Aaron and Hur, Moshe keeps his hands up, and Yoshua weakens Amalek with the sword. It doesn't really defeat him, an unconvincing victory. And to that, Hashem says, "V'haya behaniach Hashem elokecha lecha mikol ovecha." And when God finally gives you rest from all your enemies misaviv, all around you, ba'aretz asher Hashem elokecha noten lecha nachal arishta, in the land that Hashem is giving you, timche et zecher Amalek mitachat hashamayim lo tishkach. You should erase, blot out the remembrance of Amalek from under the heavens, and don't forget. That final bit, timche et zecher Amalek mitachat hashamayim lo tishkach, is the paradox of Amalek. How can you remember to wipe out somebody's memory? Once you've achieved the wiping out of somebody's memory, it would be impossible to remember them. And if you did remember them, then you haven't done your job of blotting out their memory. This is a paradox. Sometimes too much is made out of this paradox. It's a bit of a figure of speech, to blot out somebody's memory. But nevertheless, it's bothersome. There's something that troubles us about it, particularly because Amalek is a nation, is a group of people who at one historical moment did something that was perhaps unforgivable, perhaps cruel and terrible, but nevertheless, what are we supposed to do with that today in 2014? And in fact, the rabbis evolved the notion of Amalek, and Jews in general have taken Amalek to mean something else, to make it transcend time and space. And through history, the term Amalek has been applied to other peoples, irrespective of their genealogical descent. This is not a racial hatred. This is not a racial grudge. It's something else. It's the hatred for your nemesis. It is the hatred that you have for the one who hates you for reasons that you can't do anything about. It's the anti-Semite. There's someone who hates me because of who I am, because I am a Jew, and there's nothing I can really do about that. I didn't necessarily choose that. It was something that is part of my identity that I can't erase, and yet I can't placate this foe. I can't come to any terms or understandings or agreements I'm hated. What do you do about that kind of foe? That's who Amalek is. And we usually relate to Amalek from a place of weakness, that Amalek has done terrible things to us, and we're hopeful that one day God will take care of our enemies and we'll have the opportunity to put paid to Amalek. Let's turn next to this powerful poem. It's actually just a portion of a song by Regina Spektor. Regina Spektor is a Russian Jewish immigrant to the United States, and a fairly well-known singer and songwriter who often has Jewish themes in her music. This particular song is called Pound of Flesh, which certainly recalls Shylock and Shakespeare and anti-Semitism. And it actually features the character of Ezra Pound. Ezra Pound was an Imagist poet, a modern poet in the early and middle part of the 20th century, who was also known as an anti-Semite. In this song, she explains, if you're never sorry, then you can't be forgiven. If you're not forgiven, then you can't be forgotten. If you're not forgotten, then you must live forever. If you live forever, you cannot be reborn. When I first read this, I immediately came back to Parshat Zachor and to the story of Amalek, because it helps resolve that paradox. It helps resolve the question of how is somebody both commanded to forget and to remember. How can we wipe somebody's memory out and also remember to wipe their memory out? Regina Spektor suggests the following. Amalek is the enemy who's not sorry, who's never sorry. And because Amalek is not sorry, Amalek is not forgiven. Even people who do great evil to us, whether personally or on a national scale, can be forgiven. And what they need to do in order to be forgiven is to be sorry. In order to rehabilitate, they have to regret and try and make up for what they've done. And we see this in contemporary times. Germany as a country has done a lot to repair its relationships both with the State of Israel and with Jews at large. I personally would not forgive any Nazi, but over time and over generations, we are seeing a different relationship emerging between Jews and Germans that shows the power of regret and of forgiveness. It's something I'm not super comfortable with, but it's something I observe and acknowledge that I'm not meant to be comfortable with it, but it nevertheless is a positive thing for things to unfold in this way. So, Amalek is the character who can't be forgiven because he's not sorry. And therefore he can't be forgotten. He's a hanging chad in your memory. He's that thing that you go back to and say, that's unresolved. We haven't settled those accounts. And so long as that's true, then Amalek lives forever and can't be reborn, can't be recast, can't be rehabilitated. Well, it's sort of amazing because the one promise that the Israelites receive, that Avram receives, that Jews received, is nitzchiyut, eternity, eternality. We last forever. I forget who it was who said it, but there's a quote that says, you can't tell the story of civilization without telling the story of the Jews. We're an intricately bound part of the story of human civilization. And the promise that we believe in is that we will carry on forever. And the funhouse mirror reflection of that, the diametric opposite of us, is Amalek, who also lives forever. Lives forever as a terrible reflection of us. And what we hope for is to be reborn, not just in the sense of wanting to live forever physically, but we hope to be reborn. We hope that all of our potentials, everything that we could achieve, that could exist, that could come from us, is one day actualized. And it doesn't always happen in our lives, but we have a fantasy or we have a dream that one day we will be resurrected, one day we will rise from the dead, one day our bones will rise, that all that was encased and coded within us, all of our potential, will flower. And ultimately, Amalek has no potential and cannot reflower, because Amalek can't do that one act, that one human act that creates the possibility of new worlds. He can't say, I'm sorry. Parshat Tzav is filled with the stories of korbanot, of sacrifices that Israelites would bring, the chatat and the asham, to say, I'm sorry. And I think it's quite appropriate that Parshat Zachor meets with Parshat Tzav and tells us about the power of saying I'm sorry. And the tragedy of Zachor is that it's not really that we have an obligation to never forget. It's that we can't help but never forget. Amalek will never be forgotten so long as he's not forgiven. And he's not forgiven if he can't say, I'm sorry. Growth and change in our own lives comes from our ability to apologize, to recognize our errors, and to try again, and to be reborn. I wish everybody a very, very happy Purim, and we will resume again next week.